I'm not in West Virginia, but you can watch the press conferences on YouTube, which I did this morning. And Kyle Shanahan has some news, uh, basically about the people who aren't practicing. Let's start off with Javon Kinlaw, still not practicing. He may play this week, but he's not practicing today, like not at all. And when asked about what's going on there, Kyle Shanahan said, "Well, that injury he had last year against the Cowboys actually was serious, and it's why he needed surgery, and it really hasn't healed right." What were his words? Hasn't healed right. So that's all we know right now. I guess. What are your thoughts on if they don't have him in this game? We're going to talk about the Eagles a little later, but they ran for 168 yards last week.
Yeah, so I watched that game because of issues with the broadcast in my area with Game Pass. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just turn on the Eagles game. That was one of the worst games I've ever watched for the first quarter. It was miserable.
Yes.
The Eagles and the Falcons were both miserable squads out there, but the Eagles adjusted. And to me, that says something about them. But one thing they definitely did is they gashed up the middle.
Yep.
If you want,
right there. Yeah.
Right. And we don't have an interior defender that's like him.
No.
And it's one of those things where you want a higher ceiling out of a first-round pick like him, but at the same time, if your draft bust is a great interior defender, go with it.
Right.
You won't have to sign him for a huge contract compared to, other first-rounders like Bosa, for instance.
Right. Good point.
So I do think he is really necessary to the success of this team. It's one of those things where the pass rush gets home when they can slow the game down with rushing, and the Lions ate us alive. There's no other way to put it up the middle. In particular. And that is of great concern to me.
Yeah, because to me, Miles Sanders is a better running back than DeAndre Swift.
Hands down.
Miles Sanders might be one of the more underrated running backs in the league. And what's interesting about this attack is the change of pace running back is Jalen Hurts, essentially.
Exactly.
He'll run 8 to 10 times in this game. They'll call runs for him. They're not treating him like, oh, we got to protect this guy. He's our franchise quarterback. No, they're getting him on the run as much as possible. I kind of liked we're going to talk about them later, but what I want to talk about is this is bad news. And big picture with Javon Kinlaw, when he first got hurt last year, they're like, oh, it's a bone bruise. He'll be back. No big deal. And this thing, every report gets worse. And it makes you question the Niners' transparency and truthfulness. And it also makes you go back and look at some of these guys they've invested in who've had knee injuries. I mean, Jason Verrett, Raheem Mostert, Javon Kinlaw. It's like they keep getting burned by their organizational, philosophy pattern, whatever they're doing. This is a rough one. Javon Kinlaw needs to be great for them. They traded Buckner for this guy.
And if you go back as far as the previous regime, you also have Latimore. So it's just, that's the thing that surprises me is that both regimes seem to have this kind of thing. And I get it. It's kind of like gambling. It's kind of like playing blackjack. You're like, hit me. And you're just hoping you get the right card. And it seems like the Niners just keep saying, hit me. And they keep getting hits is the unfortunate part. So Kinlaw's knee was documented coming out of college.
Yeah.
He's a beast when he's on the field. But this is something I mean, if he has a knee injury, they need to shut him down. They have to.
That's terrible for the season. But
otherwise, what's the point?
I know.
It'll just be another Mostert thing.
Yeah. The other thing I know just with the Niners is it's like, guy always has setbacks. Oh, so it's just not healing right, or he had a little setback. It happens all the time. So either the Niners don't do a great job of rehabilitating their players, or they're not just telling us the truth. And they're like, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. 6 months later, oh, yeah, he's had it hasn't really healed the way we thought. I don't know. They say it all the time. So I don't get it. It's not doesn't inspire confidence.
This reminds me of the way the Patriots were run a few years ago, concealing the injuries around Tom Brady, if you remember that. And one of the things we have lauded John Lynch in particular for is keeping things in-house. And I think this organizational philosophy extends to every facet of the game, including, these guys are fine.
I think you're right.
I think it's clandestine.
I think you're right. I went back and found his quote from pretty soon after it's like right after the season ended. It was 2 weeks after Kinlaw got hurt. John Lynch had a press conference, was asked, what's the deal? And he totally downplayed it. He was like, oh, yeah, it was just bone bruise. And we thought he might be able to play week 17, but he's all good. No, don't worry about it. That's what John Lynch said. So I think what we're learning is don't listen to John Lynch when he talks about players' injuries. He's probably an ex-player who feels it's none of your freaking business.
Of course.
That's how Harbaugh felt.
Yeah, absolutely. And players, I mean, As a martial artist, if I was nursing a joint injury, I sure as heck don't want my opponent to know which one it is. You know, it's one of those things. And in football, I feel that's why they protected Tom Brady. And to be honest with you, you're telling me every defensive end out there is not going to go low if they know his knee is ailing? I'm sorry. Not everybody is virtuous. It's just the way the game is played. I mean, there's just someone out there. Even if they don't target the knee, they'll target, if it's the left knee, they'll target hits on the left side. It's just as simple as that. They'll go low and things like that. So I just think that a lot of coaches will try to protect their players this way.
Well, it's interesting. The Niners are in a position where they're like, we want to go slow with Kinlaw because it seems like it improves as you give it time. But it seems like you use him that one game, he may not be good to go for another month. What do you do with him? This is starting to feel a lot like Jalen Hurd. Not a torn ACL, but I mean, if it's arthritis, tendonitis, whatever it is, if it requires surgery and it's not getting better, man.
Arthritic conditions are chronic. So it's not something that you can just take some ibuprofen and it will go away. A lot of times it will need physical therapy and perhaps even surgery if you want to clean it up sooner. That's up to his doctors, of course. And as far as I'm concerned, just like in the military, I think that the doctors should have final say, and we shouldn't push players, and we should look at the reality. We shouldn't play for just this season, because I think that mentality is why Mostert is out.
Right. Good point.
And we needed him this season. So why did he play at all last year if he had this condition?
Yeah. I'm just looking at let's just look at the totality of Kinlaw's year and decide when he's coming back. I mean, had surgery right in January. Played in OTAs and re-injured himself, apparently traveling after OTAs, came to training camp and was there basically half the time, never did one-on-ones. They were very careful with him to not overdo it. He played in a couple of the preseason games, hasn't been healthy since the Raider game. It seems like he's been hurt for he's been hurt for at least the last 3 months. At least.
What does it mean he hurt himself when he was traveling? Did he fall off the airplane?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
See, you know, when I hear that,
he injured himself after minicamp.
Now, see, when I hear something like that, what happened is he injured himself in minicamp and it flared up through probably inflammation or something while he was traveling, because he's sitting and he's allowing his glutes and his hamstrings to become tight, which pulls on your kneecaps, on your patellar.
Okay, so
that's what happened. I can almost guarantee you. You have a doctor. You should bring him on and talk to him about this, because I think he will agree. What we are hearing is he was injured and it flared up. The symptoms began to show from inactivity while he was sitting.
Yikes. Okay, so it's been a bad year, and I wonder at what point. I asked Kyle Shanahan, are you considering IR for Javon Kinlaw? And he said, not yet. We're hopeful that we're getting him back. I mean, I think it's different than Hurd in the sense that they don't need Hurd. Hurd was like the 6th wide receiver. They really need Kinlaw. If he doesn't play, they could really have an issue. I think, let's put it this way. If he doesn't play, they may have to scrap the wide 9 against certain teams. And I think this week is one of them. How are you going to defend Miles Sanders?
Double running backs.
I think you need to play 5 across the front, because that's a run-first team. You really
it's a double jeopardy. Absolutely.
Yeah. You really want Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm.
Was it Hurst that injured his ankle in preseason?
Yeah.
So now we are seeing the impact of that, because he's a run stuffer.
Yeah. All right. Sean says no one wants to be injured. Raheem is a class act. I think some of the irritation is because he could have had surgery before this. He wasn't fully right to begin with. I hope he heals well.
Good donation, obviously. And I understand that people are frustrated, but nothing excuses the conduct towards his family and any angst. I mean, there's no reason for frustration or irritation. I mean, we have the ability, the capacity to feel down, and I'm down. I can't stand losing him, but it has nothing to do with him. And the thing is, it's a team. The team can also put their foot down. They have team doctors. They have physical therapists. They have a medical staff. If they see something, they should talk with his agent.
Yeah. Steven Hernandez says, why TF are they working out Kinlaw if they know he has tendonitis in his knee? Let him disappear for 2 weeks and slowly work him back in. JFC, guys, come on.
Steven's right. I mean, he's absolutely right. There's physical. I will say this: there will be physical therapy involved, which will be like reverse lunges and things like that. He does need to keep his knee mobile, and he needs to do things like yoga stretching and things like that, especially on his gluteal area. But there's no reason he should be squatting, no reason he should be doing drills or things like that. He should absolutely be shut down and go straight to physical therapy. Steven is correct.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think what he should be doing right now, he should be on IR. Because you can
short-term IR.
Exactly. You can bring guys
happens.
back 3 weeks later. He should be on IR, not doing anything. But they're nervous. I understand. They're probably thinking, we might need him against the Eagles. We might need, if we lose to the Eagles, we have a big problem. And
this is a trap game. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Do not underestimate this Eagles squad. To be honest with you, when I saw what happened in the fourth quarter, Niners fans, that fourth quarter, that's what you're going to see the rest of the season in our secondary. That's the secondary we have. And against the quarterback, we usually dominate. Against a subpar wide receiving core, I do not like the coaching staff of Detroit. The way they conducted themselves on the field was like children. Yelling at Okuda and then giving him a kiss on the forehead or something. Like, dude, what? I mean, that's a terrible coaching staff.
Yeah.
That's what they did to us. That was mostly like first game of the season blues, so to speak, but it was also a little bit of a prelude of what we could be facing if we do not have the cornerback situation sorted out. So we have to be careful because they have a better wide receiver in Philadelphia.